Here's one. You know, despite this shower of borrowed money, which is about to descend on us as states, and I know it'll be welcome, and I trust it'll be well used, to the extent that folks like you have anything to say about it. But you know, the exigency of the moment is not going to be dispelled by a lot of printed money from Washington. And I just submit to you, this is a terrific time to shrink government. This is a great time to do those things that probably should have been done before, but are easy to let slide or to beat back when times are flush. This is only human. I saw it in business all the time. Biggest mistakes you ever make in business are when top line's great and bottom line's fine, and that's when people take an extra trip, buy an extra piece of equipment, don't watch the pennies too well, leave low priority investments in the business plan. And so it was wisely said, I think by Lamar Alexander one time, look at a budget crisis as an opportunity to innovate. And we will in Indiana. I hope you will too. You've undoubtedly advanced really good ideas for separating the must-do items from the nice-to-do, from the should-never-have-done in your states. And now folks who were able to turn a deaf ear before may have to listen to you. It's a great time to be aggressive about that. And there'll be a greater clarity to the debate too, because those who want to resist the rightful pruning of government, in many cases, will be left with the alternative of raising people's taxes. And I just simply don't think there's any more appeal in that now than there ever was. And so, with full sobriety about the difficulties we're all going to be facing as we put the next budgets together, let's look at the bright side and the opportunities too. Let me leave a couple of ideas with you, or at least share a couple from the Indiana experience. The first has to do with property taxation. After we got the state's fiscal situation in better order, we tackled a related problem, and that was an explosion in property taxes in our state. Now, relative to many of your states, actually levels in property taxes in Indiana were not that high, but by our standards they were, and by, I think, fair standards. It was adding to the problem of affordability of home ownership and so forth. And as we were controlling the growth of state spending, it only made the contrast to what was going on at the local and school level, where it was growing 6 to 8%, more graphic to us. And so we, compressing to one quick slide, a ton of work and a very dramatic series of events in our state, we did reform and reduce property taxation in Indiana. About 40%, as the data continues to come in, cut. This was effected by raising the state sales tax 1% and using some of the surplus that we had built up, returning it to taxpayers. It was about $1.72 of tax cuts for every dollar of new sales tax. Biggest tax cut in the history of our state. The mechanism, which may or may not have any application for you, was we stopped I thought, very misguided subsidy of local government by state government that had been going on in Indiana for decades. Trying to reduce property taxes in the past, we did what I know some states have done, start sending checks to the locals, which creates one of these moral hazard situations. You can raise spending $3 and only have to raise taxes 1 or 2, because the rest comes through a state subsidy. Anybody have that sort of situation? So we got out of that. We lifted to the state level certain governmental functions that arguably are the state's responsibility, like the protection of children, for instance. Police and fire pensions was another. And we have now complete separation. Property taxes pay for purely local services. State taxes pay for state services. The cross-subsidy is gone. And property taxes, of course, went down very dramatically when we lifted these burdens off. We did something that I think may be of even more importance than cutting property taxes. We capped them. 1% of the value of your house, 2% of your farm or rental property, 3% of your business. as an absolute ceiling. And I have come to be more and more fond of this idea, first of all, for the protection it provides taxpayers. I talked to a guy from Illinois the other day, called me about something, a reporter who claimed, David, that he was spending, that his property tax bill, including a couple special assessments, has now reached 10% of the market value of his house. I said, we'll move about 20 miles and we'll cut it by 90%. Those of us who advocated this like not only the protection of these ceilings, but also the certainty it'll bring. And I think it'll be another really important competitive advantage for us as a place to do business, that you can say to would-be investors, you'll never pay more under any circumstances than 3% during the life of that investment. And by the way, on your home, not more than 1%. We have to constitutionalize this to keep some court from taking it out or some future legislature from reneging. That'll be one of the big debates. I'm looking forward to this one. In the next General Assembly, we have to pass this a second time to get it to a statewide referendum where it will pass overwhelmingly if we get it there. It's flexible. We left referenda in as an escape valve. If in some given locality there's a genuine local need or school need for money that would require taxpayers to go above 1%, make the case, trust the people. And they'll make a common sense decision. I'm confident. We've already seen the first couple examples of that. So this is as I say, the net dollar effect. Believe me, right now with foreclosure such a problem, just difficulty Hoosiers are having making ends meet, I am doubly glad that we got this tax cut in place. So when we did, we weren't looking forward to a recession at the time we passed it, but it sure comes in handy now. I got to believe the extra money that it has left in Hoosiers' pockets. And as it takes effect, we will become one of the states with the lowest property taxes in the country, and as I say, also with the cap protection that is almost unique. And that brings me, one last thing about this. We've got another issue in our state which I know is shared by many of yours. We've got a very archaic system of local government. Dates back to the mid-1800s. We elect more politicians in our supposedly conservative state than almost anybody, over 11,000. We have layer after layer. We have layers of government and subdivisions that you wouldn't recognize. 2,600 units, some of them not elected, with the power to tax property. And so we have thought for a long time in Indiana, many people thought we've got to modernize this and clean this up in the interest not only of lower taxes, but of more clear accountability. To whom does the citizen give the credit or perhaps assign the responsibility? So the property tax caps, to me, are the anvil of reform. Local and school government no longer has the option just to dial up the tax rate to get the money they want. As people bump into the caps, that's all you can charge them. And we are already seeing restraint in local spending that people have been looking for a long, long time. As folks go, maybe we could do without that. So